Why are empty strings returned in split results? What is the point of /segment/segment/dot/split / returning segment? Notice the empty elements. If you're splitting on a delimiter that happens to be at position 1 and at the very end of a string, what extra value does it give you to have the empty string returned from each end?
str.split complements str.join, so gets you back the original string. If the empty strings were not there, the first and last would be missing after the join.
More generally, to remove empty strings returned in split results, you may want to look at the filter function. Example: returns.
There are two main points to consider here. Expecting the result of /segment/segment/dot/split / to be equal to segment is reasonable, but then this loses information. If split worked the way you wanted, if I tell you that a dot split / segment, you can't tell me what it was. What should be the result of a / b dot split b? B or b? i.e., should split merge adjacent delimiters? If it should, then it will be very hard to parse data that's delimited by a character, and some of the fields can be empty. I am fairly sure there are many people who do want the empty values in the result for the above case. In the end, it boils down to two things. Consistency: if I have n delimiters in A, I get n plus 1 values back after the split. It should be possible to do complex things, and easy to do simple things. If you want to ignore empty strings as a result of the split, you can always do. But if one doesn't want to ignore the empty values, one should be able to. The language has to pick one definition of split. There are too many different use cases to satisfy everyone's requirement as a default. I think that Python's choice is a good one, and is the most logical. As an aside, one of the reasons I don't like C's strtalk is because it merges adjacent delimiters, making it extremely hard to do serious parsing/tokenization with it. There is one exception: a dot split without an argument squeezes consecutive whitespace, but one can argue that this is the right thing to do in that case. If you don't want the behavior, you can always do a dot split.
I'm not sure what kind of answer you're looking for. You get 3 matches because you have 3 delimiters. If you don't want that empty one, just use
Having x.split y always return a list of 1 plus x.count y items is a precious regularity, as at Niblas already pointed out. It makes split and join exact inverses of each other, as they obviously should be. It also precisely maps the semantics of all kinds of delimiter join records, such as CSV file lines, net of quoting issues, lines from /etc/group in Unix, and so on. It allows, as at Roman's answer mentioned, easy checks for, e.g., absolute versus relative paths in file paths and else, and so forth. Another way to look at it is that you shouldn't wantonly toss information out of the window for no gain. What would be gained in making x.split y equivalent to x.strip y.split y? Nothing. Of course, it's easy to use the second form when that's what you mean, but if the first form was arbitrarily deemed to mean the second one, you'd have a lot of work to do when you do want the first one, which is far from rare, as the previous paragraph points out. But really, thinking in terms of mathematical regularity is the simplest and most general way you can teach yourself to design passable APIs. To take a different example, it's very important that for any valid x and y, x equals x, column y plus x, y column, which immediately indicates why one extreme of a slicing should be excluded. The simpler the invariant assertion you can formulate, the likelier it is that the resulting semantics are what you need in real-life uses, part of the mystical fact that maths is very useful in dealing with the universe. Try formulating the invariant for a split dialect in which leading and trailing delimiters are special cased. Counterexample: string methods such as ispace are not maximally simple. X.ispace is equivalent to x and or c in string.whitespace for c in x. That's silly leading x and is why you so often find yourself coding not x or x.ispace. To get back to the simplicity which should have been designed into the is ... string methods, whereby an empty string is anything you want, contrary to man in the street horse sense. Maybe empty sets like 0 and c, have always confused most people. Winky face, but fully conforming to obvious well-refined mathematical common sense.
Flashback.